Hello, and welcome to the first ever Front Porch book review. Why am I doing a Front Porch book review? No idea. I don't know why I'm doing a Front Porch book review, except perhaps that I read a lot of books and I want a way to record my thoughts on those books. I have been doing a lot of typed out book reviews, trying something different. I'm gonna link the video in with the typed book review. And mostly what I've done book reviews for years is just to remember what a particular book is about. I read a bunch of them, and sometimes I will remember I read that title, but I won't quite be able to remember what the title was about, hence the concept. Now, typically speaking, my typed book reviews take the format of the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we will get there in a minute. But first, a little recap of this first Front Porch book review. It's on a book called My Dark Vanessa, which was a debut novel that's gotten a lot of buzz, especially in the teacher circles that I travel in. My Dark Vanessa is very, very dark. It is one of the darkest books I've read in a while. Lots of plot twists and turns that are a little unsettling, and overall the subject matter is a bit disturbing, just in general. So fair warning to anybody who wants to check this out, it is not a happy, happy, joy, joy book. Come to think of it, there's not much happy or joy in the book at all. It's just not there. It is an important book because I think it deals so profoundly with the subject that we are all dealing with in the Me Too era, but it comes at it from a slightly different perspective. My Dark Vanessa centers around a character, Vanessa Y, who, as the novel opens, is in her 30s, and as a 32-year-old, she is coming to come to a reckoning with something that happened to her as a student. When she was 15, she was a student at a very prestigious boarding school, and over the course of her time there, she became involved with a teacher of hers. It's always the English teacher, I know. But the teacher's name is Jacob Strain, a teacher in his mid-40s who becomes romantically, or not romantically, that is much too kind for what he does to Vanessa. He becomes sexually involved with his student. And really, the course of the novel is about the aftermath and the impact that this involvement has on Vanessa's life, tracing forward for the next several years. It follows her through young adulthood, finishing out her high school career, going to college, finishing out a bachelor's degree, and then into her early 30s, and it really tracks her progress or lack thereof throughout her life. What I liked about the book is that it is a very accurate, at least to my way of thinking, portrayal of what happens when someone is abused. Vanessa is really kind of stuck. She's stuck not because of any decisions that she's made, but because of decisions that were made for her. She has a lot of guilt over this relationship, which is really rather misplaced. The reader sees perfectly well that Vanessa has no reason to feel all this guilt over the relationship with her teacher. But Vanessa doesn't see it at all until you get close to the end of the novel. She's taking on a lot of responsibility for the things that Jacob Strain did. That tension between what the reader knows and what you want Vanessa to know, but Vanessa really clearly has no clue about, is what makes this book so very important. Now, on to the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good here is an excellent writing style. This is so very well written. For a debut author, this is someone who clearly knows what she's doing. She talks in the interview after the book about how she's been working on this for a lot of years, and you can tell. It is very well crafted. The voice of Vanessa as a 15-year-old is excellent. She sounds 15. And the voice of Vanessa as an adult sounds very much like a grown-up version of that 15-year-old trying to process her trauma. That's hard to do in any kind of book and keep the voice consistent, yet the author does that beautifully well. The is probably the fact that there are really only two characters in this book. You have some bit players. For instance, you have Vanessa's mom, you have a couple of Vanessa's friends, you have a boyfriend, you have Taylor, a side character who makes an appearance or two, but this is really the story of Jacob Strain and Vanessa Y. And you don't like Jacob at all. He is really quite reprehensible. You like Vanessa, but you're also very frustrated with her. You want her to wake up. And the truth is, at least to my mind, the point of this book is that Vanessa can't wake up. Vanessa is stuck, and she's stuck because of what's been done to her. The ugly part of this book is that stuck thing. She is just mired in a relationship that really is just abuse. It's not a relationship at all. And yet Vanessa can't accept that, because if she does, then she really has to accept that everything that she has lived for up to this point in her life is all false. She can't let go of Jacob because she feels like Jacob is the only thing that she has. And at the same time, Jacob is the very thing that's holding her back. That feeling and that tension is really ugly. And you as the reader are going to feel it throughout this book. You get to the end and the sense of resolution is very small. It's not something where you feel like, wow, I've reached resolution, this feels good. It is a book that does not leave you feeling good at all. It leaves you feeling frustrated. Frustrated with the system that allowed this. Frustrated with Vanessa because she can't seem to move past it. And even though by the end of the book, Jacob is no longer a factor, you kind of wish that you could make that a little more painful because you just can't stand him. It's that bad. Now, to whom would I recommend this book? That's a tough question. There's a lot of language in this book. There are very, very descriptive passages of assault that deal with sexuality. It's going to make a lot of readers uncomfortable, and not just readers who are in general uncomfortable with sexuality. This is not typical sexuality that you find in books. It's violent. And even when it's not violent, the abuse is so clearly described that it is disturbing. It's a book that I read, and I'm very glad I did. I feel like I learned a lot from it. I never want to read it again, especially not those sections of it. Being in the mind of Vanessa as she's being abused is it's an important place to go. I feel as if I were enlightened in reading it, and at the same time, I can't unread it. And that's a thing. There has been some buzz on my teacher pages about this being considered for classroom use. Not going to recommend this for a classroom. This is not a book for high school students, really. Yes, Vanessa is a character that is a high school student. And if you are a student who has lived through this kind of experience, this might be a worthy read for you. It might be helpful to you in some way. But for your average reader who is not a victim of some kind of assault, this is just going to be disturbing, and it's going to be trauma-inducing in ways that are not necessary when you're a high school student. For people who love literary fiction and who really want something new and unusual, I think the way that Vanessa's voice is treated in this particular book is unusual enough that it's a worthy read. So for my literary fiction people, this is one for you. Just approach it knowing that what you're going to be reading is going to be some disturbing material overall. That's a wrap on the first review. I'm still not exactly sure where I'm going to post this, but I do like the idea that I've got it recorded for posterity for later on. And so for now, signing off from the front porch. Bye-bye.